An update on Mega Bridge passenger flow following new measures to divert them from Tongcheng Town Center. A plan to move the Guangzhou high-speed rail terminal to the city center. And in France, world leaders commemorate the centenary of the end of World War I.
Hello and a very good evening. Tongcheng residents say the overcrowding problem in their community because of mainland visitors coming via the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge has got better. This comes after the government announced new measures to divert the tourists to Sunny Bay and elsewhere in the city. But as Haley Joe reports, the issue of unlicensed mainland tour operators remains unresolved.
The number of people crossing the Mega Bridge yesterday and up to 4 p.m. today almost reached 150,000. With new measures in place, some travelers at Hong Kong Port chose to take the B5 bus to Sunny Bay or the A11 bus to the urban area. Some visitors from Zhuhai took coaches arranged by their tour agencies to Sunny Bay, then transferred to other forms of public transport to go around the city. But some still chose to go to Tongcheng.
I have no idea how to get to somewhere, and somebody told us we can take the A11 or B6.
So no B5? You never heard of B5?
No.
Do you know there's a bus that goes to Sunny Bay now? B5 bus?
We don't know.
Unlike the two previous weekends, the visitors said the waiting time wasn't long for the B6 bus. On Sunday afternoon, there hardly is a line for buses. Today, it's an average wait of about 5 to 7 minutes for a B6 bus. Tongcheng residents said the new measures seem to be working and it feels it has swung back to normal.
It seems to be working today. It's a lot less crowded than some of the pictures that I saw of last weekend. So that generally happy with that.
It seems this week it's better than last week. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Last week it was horrible, but this week it's much better than before. So I think it's improving.
But there still are some unresolved issues such as illicit mainland tour operators. In the afternoon, Tongcheng Future, a group made up of locals along with some political groups, staged a protest at the MTR station. They demanded actions to root out illicit tours. Wang Chunyang, who organized the protest, called for a crackdown on them. Meanwhile, Michael Wu, honorary advisor to Travel Industry Council, also pointed out there is a loophole in the council's guideline. The guideline only says local tour agents should receive tour groups at the Hong Kong port when they arrive, Wu said. Some local travel agencies were spotted taking care of multiple mainland tour groups at a time, he said. Haley Joe, TVB News.
Guangzhou plans to move its high-speed rail terminal from the south of the city to its urban center. This would mean greater convenience for many Hong Kong travelers. Kayla Bloom has the details.
Good news for passengers of the Express Rail Link. Guangzhou authorities have recently approved a plan for the city's integrated transport hub for 2018 to 2035. The new plan includes connecting Guangzhou Station, located in Yuxiu District in the central urban area, to the high-speed rail system's Guangzhou South Station. That means the Guangzhou-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Express Rail Link will be extended to Guangzhou Station as the new terminus. Guangzhou authorities noted that Guangzhou South Station, located in Panyu District, is far away from the city center. The move would improve transportation for travelers. Some vibrant express passengers welcomed the idea.
Yes, it'll be much more convenient. It's easier to get to. It's closer to downtown Guangzhou.
This woman said moving the terminus to the city center would definitely bring convenience to everyone and save up on taxi fares to the city center. However, some are worried that moving the terminus to Guangzhou Station may overcrowd the area. This woman said there is a need to divert passengers to different parts of the city. relevant authorities are still studying how the railway system should be built in the city. Caleb Bloom, TVB News.
Turning overseas now, world leaders walked side by side to commemorate the end of the First World War 100 years ago in a somber ceremony to remember the millions who fought and died. Arriving a few minutes late, they missed the exact moment when the armistice that ended World War I was signed. The leaders walked the Arc de Triomphe in Paris as part of the events. At 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918, the devastating four-year war came to a close. Today's ceremony was intended to drive home the message that the world cannot afford another war like that again. Before today's events, US President Donald Trump spent yesterday in Paris, where he met with his French counterpart. US President Donald Trump was probably hoping his trip to France for commemorations marking the end of World War I would be a chance to recharge the batteries after the bruising midterm election campaign. Instead, the president found himself mired in controversy again after he failed to make it to a cemetery for US soldiers killed during the First World War. The White House cited bad weather as the reason for Trump skipping the visit. Attending in Trump's place were White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Marine General Joe Dunford, and several members of the White House staff. Trump's critics were quick to say that the president should have found a way to travel to the cemetery regardless of the weather. Instead, Trump met and had lunch with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron in Paris. The atmosphere between the two was somewhat awkward, given Trump had lashed out against Macron on Twitter just a day or two before his arrival in France. Trump accused the French president of making anti-American comments after Macron called for a European army, discussing the growing dangers from cyber hacking, meddling in electoral processes, and the US decision to withdraw from a missile treaty. Macron said Europe needed to protect itself against China, Russia, and even the United States. But Macron and Trump tried to give the impression that it was all a misunderstanding, with the two leaders agreeing that it was a positive thing that Europe shoulder more of the burden in its defence.
And that's why I do believe that my proposals for European defence are totally consistent with that, because it means more Europe within NATO, more capacity, in order to take our part of the burden.
And I appreciate what you're saying about burden sharing. You know what my attitude's been, and we want a strong Europe. It's very important to us to have a strong Europe, and whichever way we can do it the best and most efficient would be something that we both want.
While Trump and Macron discussed defence issues over lunch, many analysts were focused on other things: their body language. Their handshake last year was a subject of much discussion. Then, when Macron visited Washington in April, Trump could be seen brushing dandruff off the French leader's shoulder. At yesterday's meeting, Macron patted Trump on the thigh and called the American president his good friend when a reporter asked about Trump's tweet. Trump was stony-faced as Macron touched him.
News of more deaths and destruction from those devastating wildfires in California. The death toll has now risen to 25. Fire officials confirm it was the deadly Camp Fire that leveled almost the entire town of Paradise in one day. They thought yesterday's discovery of 9 people burnt to death was the worst until they found more victims.
Today, 14 additional bodies were located, which brings our total number to 23.
This Paradise resident says he's scarred for life after witnessing people dying while trying to flee.
There were people literally burning in their cars, running down the street, abandoning their vehicles, dying on the road. It was just utter panic.
Another Paradise resident was gutted to find his entire home burnt to the ground.
It was coming fast, didn't have much time. I just grabbed my RV and threw a couple things in it and left.
This man's home was left in a pile of ashes, yet he was still happy to find his wife's wedding band.
Pretty cool. She said that she had left it here, and so he just started digging and it was there. It's just a miracle. My wife couldn't believe it.
He's trying to stay positive, even though everyone in his extended family lost their homes too.
My parents lost their house, in-laws lost their house, my wife's grandpa and uncle lost their house, and then my sister-in-law.
Another 2 bodies were discovered in a wildfire that ravaged the city of Thousand Oaks. It appears they couldn't escape the flames in time.
We have found 2 individuals that were severely burned inside of a stopped vehicle located on a long residential driveway.
Over in Malibu, where the rich and many Hollywood actors live, massive homes have been reduced to ash and debris.
It's very surreal, you know, it's completely devastating. We're in total shock right now. The fires were so strong that it just took the house down.
Others surveying the damage said the wicked winds are what fanned the ferocious fire.
It was way too big a firestorm. We had tremendous demonic winds, is the only way I can put it.
Authorities warn California residents not to let their guard down, as more winds are expected to fan the flames.
But we do have to remember we aren't out of it yet. There's going to be some strong winds tomorrow. We'll hear about that today. So please listen to our public safety personnel. When they're telling you to evacuate, evacuate. It's really important to see that we don't have any more lives lost in our counties.
In Singapore, a general election could be on the horizon. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong suggested citizens in the city-state may head to the polls next year, a full year sooner than mandated. The Prime Minister made the comments during a Central Executive Committee meeting of the ruling People's Action Party, or PAP. Lee would like to step down from his post in the next couple of years, but no clear successor has been chosen to fill his shoes. The PAP has dominated Singaporean politics since the Republic's independence 5 decades ago, winning all elections with a majority. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says his government has given recordings related to the killing of Jamal Khashoggi to Saudi Arabia, the United States, Germany, France and Britain. It's part of Ankara's strategy to maintain international pressure on Riyadh over the Saudi journalist's death. Khashoggi, a critic of the de facto Saudi ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, was killed in Saudi Arabia's Istanbul consulate last month. It's a hit which Erdogan says was ordered at the highest levels of the Saudi government. The killing provoked global outrage, but little concrete action has been taken by world powers against Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter and a supporter of US plans to contain Iranian influence in the Middle East. And still ahead on the news tonight. Police arrest more than 30 people in an anti-triad operation.
香港地乜都要快，做生意要成功，唔止資金流要夠快，仲要轉數要快，先至可以突圍而出。
做網店最緊要嘅個現金流啦。
商業客戶經恒生用轉數快，顧客用手機號碼、email address 或者 FPS ID 就可以即時過數俾商戶，就算跨銀行都得。
收錢又快，梗係個個都中意啦。
啱晒我哋需要現金流嘅中小企。
無論你做邊行，做生意就係咁簡單。即刻經恒生商業網上理財，用轉數快，商業客戶唔只有100蚊現金回贈，仲有機會贏取旗艦手機喎。
And welcome back. A delegation led by Chief Executive Carrie Lam to Beijing will meet with President Xi Jinping tomorrow. During a seminar today, the CE stressed the importance of safeguarding one country, two systems, and helping with the development of the Greater Bay Area. Christy Leung has details.
Gathering at the Diaoyutai State Guest House in Beijing, the delegation with more than 160 members attended a seminar on the 40th anniversary of the reform and opening up of the country. Hosting the event was He Lifeng, the chairman of the National Development and Reform Commission. He praised Hong Kong and Macau for making important contributions to the nation's reform and opening up. At the seminar, Chief Executive Carrie Lam said the city has benefited from the nation's reform and opening up. She added Hong Kong had served multiple roles connecting the mainland and foreign countries together. That's allowed the city to become the international financial, commerce and maritime center it is today. Macau Chief Executive Fernando Choi said, without reform and opening up, the enclave would not have had a standard of developments today. Former Standing Committee member of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, Chen Wing-Ki, spoke to reporters after the event. He said Carrie Lam stressed the importance of safeguarding one country, two systems, as that would facilitate the development of the Greater Bay Area. He also confirmed the group will meet President Xi Jinping tomorrow morning. After that, the delegation will return to Hong Kong. Christy Leung, TVB News.
Back in Hong Kong, police have arrested more than 30 people in an anti-triad operation. As Kena Chud reports, the youngest person arrested is only 15 years old.
The 10-month-long undercover operation has led to the arrest of 31 people, 29 men and 2 women aged from 15 to 53. Among them, 2 are said to be ranking members of Triad Group. Cho Zi-hoon, chief inspector of a regional anti-triad unit, noted they were the most active in recruiting new members. The police officer does not rule out the possibility of arresting more of their kind. Aside from those who are unemployed, some of the people arrested worked in the retail sector or as renovation workers. They have been apprehended on suspicion of acting as a member of Triad Society, claiming to be a member of Triad Society, trafficking in a dangerous drug, and using an identity card in relation to another person. The investigation was launched in December last year. The police said 140 officers took part in their operation yesterday. Undercover officers successfully infiltrated 3 Triad societies active in New Territory South and West Kowloon. The operation also seized small amounts of drugs and communication devices. Despite the arrest of a 15-year-old, the police have not found any evidence suggesting Triad influences spreading to schools. Kena Chu, TVB News.
Overseas again, at least 12 people have been killed by flash floods in Jordan. Authorities had to evacuate more than 3,700 tourists from the ancient city of Petra. Heavy rain began pounding Petra on Friday until a torrent of water came crashing down the canyon and flooding the area within minutes. The tourist attraction is now closed for cleanup operations.
And from all of us, thanks for joining us.
Have a very good night. Bye-bye.